You feel trapped, you're stuck behind the chair, and you can't leave till this entire haircut is over. The client's staring at you, everybody in the room is staring at you, your hands start to shake, your breath gets short, you feel like you're just gonna pass out and hit the floor. This shop is a walk-in shop, so there's nothing but people waiting for me anyways. I can't get out of here even if I wanted to, even if this was my last haircut. So I'd like to open up about this topic, dealing with anxiety behind the chair and how I ultimately overcame it. I hope this video helps somebody out there. So yeah, I wanted to discuss a time in my life where I was dealing with a lot of stress. I had already been cutting hair for over 10 years, and one day, when I was in the middle of cutting hair, I started feeling like I was gonna have a heart attack. So the weird thing about this was it just came from out of the blue. My confidence was just at an all-time high. I was in the middle of executing haircuts that were really good, and all in all, I was a pretty successful barber. I had already been cutting hair for 10 years. I had a ton of experience. It wasn't me not knowing what I was doing. I've been involved in some fairly extreme sports my entire life, from dirt bikes to four-wheelers to motorcycles and skateboarding. And here I was in the middle of giving a simple haircut, and I literally felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna hit the ground. I wish I could say this was an isolated event, but the truth was I was gonna deal with this for probably about a year. Every time I picked up the clippers, I was like, oh my God, I hope this doesn't happen again. How can I do this? I might even leave the business over this. Have no fear. If you're there, just stay with me. Although I didn't recognize it, I was dealing with a ton of stress. I had legal problems, just things in my life were not going well. I smoked marijuana regularly at the time. And I never did this at work, but I did this almost every day back then when I went home. And I really feel for anybody going through anything like this. It's a terrible thing, and there seemed to be no great answer. And I really didn't reach out to nobody, and I really didn't share this with anybody. I just felt it would make me a weak person if I was to give a voice to it. But my desire to fight back against this was so strong, it actually probably worked against me. The harder I tried to fight against it, it seemed like the worse it would get. So now, I've been cutting hair ever since I was a little kid. I may have been as little as 10 years old when I did my first haircut. And I can honestly say, starting haircutting that early, I had no fear whatsoever to make a mistake. I wasn't concerned about it in the least. It never even entered my mind. And I understood that mistakes were gonna happen. This is something new that I'm trying to learn, and if it happens, so be it. But I never felt any type of way about it, nor did I feel any nerves about it. So fast forward, I'm much better at cutting hair now. It's been all these years. I've been a license holder for 10 years, and every time I pick up the clipper, I feel like my reputation was at stake. Like this was gonna happen, and I was gonna be figured out, and I was gonna be like a fraud or just somebody who couldn't do this anymore. And this is a business I love. I would never want that to happen to me, nor anybody else who's in a business they love. But I guess the big question here is, how did I get over this? I really feel like I had to get back to being okay with making mistakes and understanding that nobody is actually perfect. And also, I'm not a barber. I'm a person who cuts hair for a living. And it's okay if I make a mistake. And I've built up this pressure in my mind to the point where I was so afraid to make a mistake, where I was just so afraid to, try to just enjoy being behind the chair and enjoy chatting with my client. Like I had all this pressure that was just so unnecessary. It was all self-constructed. And once I began to let go of some of that pride, let go of some of those things, it just got easier. If I make a mistake on this client right now, in all likelihood, I probably won't even lose the client. And your client, even if you do lose one, you're not building this business off of one client. You have to be okay with making mistakes, especially when you're new. So don't fall for the trap of social media, where everybody's lives are so picture perfect and leave it to Beaver. You're seeing a highlight of everybody's best moments. Nobody's sharing any of this stuff with you. Nobody's sharing any of these internal struggles. And I guarantee you, all of them have struggled with something like this along the lines of their life. And a lot of people who are coming up will. Ultimately, I'm completely over my anxieties. I feel comfortable behind the chair now. I feel happy to be there. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I'm glad that I've confronted the battle and continued to push myself into situations that made me uncomfortable, that made me feel uneasy. Because now when I look back at all of that, I see I was able to accomplish quite a lot and help quite a few people. And if you're in the middle of this, watching this video, I just want to tell you, keep your head up. Don't worry about making mistakes. Make a few mistakes. And if you're working too hard and you're really under a lot of stress like I was, find a hobby that gives you time to reset your brain, just something that gets you away from the business that you're in or whatever it is that you're doing. you're going to need to do something to reset. And that's what golf is for me. But whatever it is for you, I would encourage you to go and find that outlet and spend a little time there. You can't spend all your time in the world just battling this uphill battle, especially when dealing with anxiety. It's okay not to know stuff. It's okay not to be great at certain types of haircuts. Maybe you could educate yourself so you don't feel like panicked when you're doing certain types of haircuts. Maybe you could learn a few different techniques that, will prepare you for when those situations happen. So one of the things I could say that brought about a lot of anxiety for me at the time when I was struggling with it was a walk-in shop. And I'd be cutting somebody's hair and I'd feel trapped. I'd start to feel the panic. I'd feel it starting to rise up and well up. And it would be almost compounded by the fact that I would have several people out here in the waiting room waiting for me. Sometimes I'd have as many as 5 people waiting for me. And my brain would start kind of like doing the math, like, oh my God, I got to spend like 30, 40 minutes on each one of them. I'm not going to leave here for hours. I'm trapped here. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't eat. I can't take a break. And it would make me panic even more. So I do know that a lot of my anxiety kind of dissipated when I switched to an appointment app. And I am going to plug my sponsor here, but this is 100% true. I've been with Booked In now for 3 years. They have been rock solid, and they're offering you guys 50% off for your first 3 months, and you guys can check out the link below. You guys can check out the offer. It is bookedin.com/Eddie, and you guys can receive that offer. When I had all those people, like, I felt like they were staring at me. They're waiting in the waiting room, and they kind of were staring at me because they're trying to gauge, like, how long is this going to take, Ed? When are we going to get in your chair and get out of here, Ed? And I didn't really have the answer as a walk-in shop because I didn't have everything figured out. So I'm over here panicking because I got to deal with all them. They're over here frustrated at me because I'm not getting done fast enough, and it only amplified my anxiety. And imagine how much better it felt to have an appointment booking app where I don't even have to deal with the clients. They just literally book online. There's no app or nothing. They just sign up and do it. And then they come in one at a time, and I handle one at a time. I don't have the pressure of anybody sitting here. I don't feel like I'm holding anybody up. I mean, honestly, like, if there's a good argument for still doing walk-ins, I haven't heard one. But personally, I would much rather do appointments. It's definitely brought a lot of stress in my life down. It's brought it way down. So at the end of all this, man, I just want to tell you guys, if you're dealing with any of this, just keep your head up, man. Keep fighting. And, the other side of it is just like, if you have a panic attack, if you feel anxiety, like, it's okay. Those are natural feelings. And some of this might revolve around the fact that you might need to educate yourself a little bit further, like in the beginning when you're new, or some of it could happen just like me. When I've been in this business 10 years, I was a complete expert on every type of haircut walking through the door. I had no concerns about my skill, and bang, it just kind of hit me in the middle of these moments. So I think there's something to be said with, like, pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations. I think that if you go back into the history of just being a man, we were supposed to fight, we were supposed to make war, we were supposed to hunt, and a lot of us are not doing these things. So this anxiety, it can manifest itself in some weird ass ways and just pop up in situations where, like, fight or flight is not something that should happen to me during a haircut. If I'm getting, like, if I'm fighting for my life, or if I have a situation to run or fight for my life, I could understand feeling that panic, but for it just to well up in me over no reason, that was really a shock. And I just want to tell you guys, man, if anybody is dealing with this and you're thinking about leaving the business or doing something drastic, talk to somebody about this, try to get some help. A lot of us have dealt with this, and a lot of people have gotten over this, and you can too, and you can do it without the drugs or without anything else. That's another topic for another day. But exercise, be okay with making mistakes, and just kind of, get yourself out there, keep pushing yourself into them uncomfortable situations. And I promise you guys, you're going to feel better, after a while, especially for those of you guys who are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me now, as always, for this little chat about anxiety on the YBA. Tap in the comments, man, if this is something that you dealt with, something that you got over. I think it's important that we open up and that we share about this topic. And if you guys could start a conversation down below, I'm definitely going to chime in a little bit. I guarantee you that one of your comments, who knows what impact it could have. It could really help somebody right now. Like, somebody might be struggling, somebody might be ready to leave the business. And if you share an experience similar to what I've just shared down below, people are going to know it's okay. It's okay to talk about this stuff. It's okay to have these struggles, and it's okay to make these mistakes. I love you guys all. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.